So we've had some bad Thursday night football games so far this year, but this one might be the worst. It might be the worst showdown slate we've had. We've got Atlanta, Carolina. I'm not excited to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it because there's still money to be made. But yeah, FYI, fair warning, this is an absolutely disgusting showdown slate. Welcome, guys. My name is DK. Once again, we'll be talking about the Thursday Night Football Showdown. Also make videos for NBA DFS as well as Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the sponsor of the video. Make sure to use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. They do have player props up for the Thursday night game if you guys want to get some action down on there. And again, if you are a first-time user, take advantage of that code. If you guys are looking for premium content, you can check my Patreon linked down below. All right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump right into the slate. As far as Vegas odds go, we got a 44 over-under, and the Atlanta Falcons are currently 3-point favorites. All right, so on the Atlanta side, we got Cordarrelle Patterson. I believe he's the most expensive player. Yeah, he's by far the most expensive player on the slate at 11.8K. Don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Now, Atlanta did say they're going to ease Patterson back into it, and they did. They put him 24 of the 61 snaps there at running back. You saw 23 for Tyler Algier, 13 for Caleb Huntley, and 3 for Avery Williams. So technically 4 running backs played. And Patterson, again, I do expect his snaps to go up, but still don't think he'll be a true bell cow back. Now, he is a bit involved in the passing game, and he's still, one of the safer plays in the board for sure. Just going to have to pay premium, and I don't know if I necessarily agree at this price point. But that means he'll probably fall into the end zone 3 times. I tweeted before the Ravens game started, I was like, watch Kenyon Drake fall in the end zone twice just to tilt me. And Kenyon Drake fell into the end zone twice to tilt me. If you want to quickly look back at my lineup, this was it. Lamar captain with Kamara, Olave, likely Lutz, and Josh Oliver. I preferred Olave to Drake. But unfortunately, again, Drake scored 2 touchdowns. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on Cordarrelle Patterson. Marcus Mariota, he's actually the safest quarterback play on this showdown slate, as weird as that is to say. Just because PJ Walker, we'll talk about him in a bit. He's starting, but there's a chance he could get benched. You saw that happen last week when Baker Mayfield came in. So with Mariota, he does have a bit of rushing upside. Last 5 games, 61, 50, 31, 43, and 24 yards on the ground. So he's averaging about 30, 40 yards on the ground a game. Yeah, I mean, he stands out as a pretty safe play on the board. Again, Atlanta is not really a pass-first team. But if you look at just the rest of the players on this slate, yeah, Mariota is going to stand out as one of the top options. Now, the top 2 receiving targets here for Atlanta, we got Drake London, we got Kyle Pitts. Drake London's 8.2, Kyle Pitts is 7K. I think I slightly give the edge to Pitts for the discount. Pitts played 42 of the 61 snaps. Drake London played 46 of the 61. Both guys are, again, their top receiving targets. You've had 4, 1, 5, and 7 targets the last 4 games for Drake London. Where Kyle Pitts has been at 3, 5, 9, and 7. And we saw the one decent game there for Pitts. But for most of the year, these guys have been disappointing. I think there's certainly solid options in the mid-range. Definitely the guys you're going to feel the best about if you're targeting a receiver for Atlanta, that being either Kyle Pitts or Drake London. Tyler Algier, I mentioned how we kind of split snaps with Cordarrelle Patterson. Still at 10 carries, still 1 catch and 1 target. His snaps could go down a little bit with the expectation of Cordarrelle Patterson snaps going up. Still think Algier is playable, but definitely a riskier option on this slate. Wide receiver 2 is technically Olamide Zaccheaus. He's been averaging about 3 targets a game over the last 5 snaps. He played 43 of the 61, so he's right there with Drake London. Not as high of a ceiling, not as high of a floor. So he's kind of just there in the mid-range. Falcons defense, I mean, both offenses are bad, so the defenses are in play, but it's not like the defenses are good either. Like, the Falcons defense is really not good, and the Panthers defense is not good either. So it's like, do I want to play defense on the slate? I mean, they're playable, but still, you're not going to feel good about almost anyone on this slate. Caleb Huntley is technically RB3. At this price point, I would say he's definitely overpriced. He could go back down to roll, or maybe he's only getting a couple touches a game. So definitely a risky play there. Damiere Byrd feels a bit overpriced at 4-4. He's technically their wide receiver 3. Taking a look at the snaps, he played 29 of 61, so just under half the snaps. He had that one big week against Carolina where he went for 3 catches and 6 targets. He also did have that 175-yard touchdown catch, but that was it. So I think, these games are probably outlier games, and I do think Damiere Byrd is a bit overpriced. Younghoe Koo, the kickers are arguably 2 of the best values in the slate. There's really no value plays you're gonna love on this one. So I do like both kickers quite a bit. Usually the kickers do go under-owned on the showdowns. Cordero Hodge is technically wide receiver 4. He had 2 targets last week, but the snaps were not great on him. He played 16 of the 61 snaps. And like I said, Atlanta is more of a run-first team anyway. Michael Pruitt, he is backup tight end. And Parker Hesse is the other backup tight end. Pruitt played 18 snaps. He ran a route in 4. Parker Hesse played 29 snaps, ran a route in 4. So the quote-unquote other tight ends for Atlanta, mainly just out there for blocking purposes. Well, Kyle Pitts, very clearly their pass-catching tight end. And that's it. Brian Edwards was inactive last week. Anthony Ferkser was inactive last week, unless something changes there. Can't really go to those guys. So that's Atlanta. That's Atlanta, and it doesn't get much better on the Carolina side, guys. I will say that. So Carolina, I mentioned how I thought Mariota is the safest quarterback play in the slate because PJ Walker's once again going to start, but that doesn't mean he's going to finish the game because he didn't finish the game last week against Cincinnati. So obviously still have interest in PJ Walker. He is a guy that he hasn't really shown the mobility, but he can run the ball. So again, he's playable. I feel better about Mariota, but you can still look to Walker. I don't really think it makes sense to play Baker Mayfield on this slate. I'm not Siege, so I can't really recommend a backup quarterback and hope he gets benched. But unless PJ Walker gets benched very, very early, but I don't think that would happen. And then other options here for Carolina. So DJ Moore, I think one of the best plays on the slate. He is going to play a majority of the game. If you take a look at the snaps last week for Carolina, he played 48 of the 49 snaps, so almost 100% of the snaps, 8, 7, 10, 11, 6 targets. I do like DJ Moore quite a bit. I do think he's a bit underpriced too, so I'm very high on DJ Moore. Terrence Marshall, also a solid option. He's been their wide receiver too. He is 8.4K, and he should come in at less ownership. He also played 45 of the 49 snaps, so Marshall and Moore basically playing the entire game. I think, if the field had to pick one guy, that would go DJ Moore, and I agree. I think DJ Moore is the better play. But if you factor in ownership, you're probably going to get DJ Moore getting way more ownership than Marshall. So for tournaments, I do think you can make the argument to go Marshall over Moore. Again, kind of depending on what the rest of your lineup looks like. If you're playing a lot of chalk, then yeah, you can play Marshall over Moore. If you already have a couple contrarian plays in your lineup, then go DJ Moore. So, and it always comes down to what the rest of your lineup looks like. But the top 2 wide receivers look good. Preference to Moore, but I do think Marshall will come in with much less ownership. Running backs. So this also gets a bit tricky. It was a 3-headed monster last game. Donta Foreman played 21 snaps, Blackshear 17, and Brown 13. But that game got way out of hand. The game before, Foreman was the guy getting a majority of the touches. But now we have Chuba Hubbard back. And in that one game where it was just Foreman and Hubbard, it was basically an even split. So that's kind of what I'm expecting here, unless we hear otherwise from Chuba Hubbard. So Foreman, 7.8K, definitely a viable option on the slate. But I think if we're looking at price points, I'm going to give the edge to Chuba Hubbard, who again is $2,000 cheaper. So Hubbard, I give the edge to Foreman over Foreman, but both running backs are in play. I'm expecting a pretty even split. I would think that Blackshear snaps go down. He is probably the best pass catcher of the group, but I think he could go down to a very minimal role this game. And then Pinheiro is the kicker. Yeah, like I said, there's not many value plays on the slate, so I do like him a decent amount. The Panthers defense, playable. I actually think I would rather play the Panthers D than the Falcons D. At 3.8K for the Panthers, and the Falcons D is over 5K. A couple other guys to talk about here. Shi Smith has been operating as the wide receiver 3. He played 39 of the 49 snaps. He's been playing a lot in the slot. He hasn't really done much, though. If you look at the last 5 games, 5, 2, 0, 1, and 2 targets. So playable, but not really a guy that has shown that floor. Tight ends, it's going to be a split between Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas. Tommy Tremble played 27 snaps, ran a route in 19. Ian Thomas played 18 snaps, ran around in 11. So Tremble would be the guy I would give the edge to. He does have 4 targets in back-to-back games. So he's the guy I feel a little bit better about than Ian Thomas, but Thomas still playable. He was averaging like a little over a target a game over the last 5 games. Laviska Shenault only played a couple snaps last week. He had 1 target, so don't really think I can go there unless we hear otherwise. He played 3 total snaps. So yeah, unless we hear something on Twitter or something, I can't go to Laviska Shenault. Let's see. Their third string tight end is Giovanni Ricci. He had 1 target last week. He played 13 snaps, ran around 7, so nothing more than a dart throw there of $400. And I think that's it. I don't think there's anyone else in consideration unless we get a surprise call up from the practice squad. So yeah, guys, that is the Thursday night showdown slate. It's gross. It's ugly, but hopefully this video did help if you are playing it. And the one positive I'll say about any ugly showdown is there's still good contests out there. There's still a lot of money to be won, and someone's got to win the money. Someone does. So that'll wrap it up. Again, guys, if you do enjoy the NFL DFS content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you guys all in the next video.